I didn't get time to put an intro together because I've been shooting these for the past few days. But quickie review, fantastic, good, great, awesome, spectacular, and okay. It is a miserable, stormy kind of day, so if you hear some rumbling in the background or rainfall on my metal roof, that's why. So I'm just kind of trying to catch it in between bursts, and it seems to be calmed down. But you know what always makes me feel better on days like this? Talking about toys. I'm Robo. This here's the Rewind. As always, as soon as I posted the last Rewind, there was something else to talk about, like this McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Joker and Punchline 2-pack. The Joker seems to be the Infinite Frontier body with a new head and tweaked paints, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I like this one better than the first release. It gives him more of a classic feel, which, I mean, most of the Jokers we've gotten is pale white guy with green hair in a purple and or odd colored suit. That's the Joker. It looks kind of Arkham Asylum video game-ish with the forehead, I guess, the hairline, but I can't match this up with anything else when I do a search on McFarlane.com. It's just a Joker in another color scheme. Multiverse! Nothing jumps out at me when I look at Punchline either. At first I thought, okay, Catwoman. She's got the thigh highs, the seam line, the laces, but again, searching through older figures, mostly just Catwoman, I guess I could have searched someone else. Well, there's not a lot of females in this line, so that in itself is cool to see. Another female character in DC Multiverse. Another female figure that is a unique sculpt, as far as I can tell. Please don't go to the comments and go, hey, dummy, it's this figure. Blank. It's familiar because it's just that McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse aesthetic. I look at it and think, it goes directly into that line. It's gotta be reusing something. Still, if you collect that line, here's a, well, okay, I was gonna say a couple of new figures for your shelf, but there's a new character and another Joker. I'm sure it's the same thing as Batman. Todd's already come out and said, look, Batman sells, you're gonna see a lot of Batmans. It's the same thing for Joker, because I usually buy most of them. Next, there were pre-orders for some of the things we saw back at WonderCon, like this Mr. Freeze. Okay, the rain died down. I don't know if you can hear it, but there's an ambulance, a siren, fire truck. It's one of those months. I'm not even in town, but there is a fire station around the way. Is my house on fire? I guess I should go check this. I'm not trying to make this a running bit, I swear. Okay, it seems to be going the other direction. I hope wherever that's going, everything's okay. No surprises here, it's just a new color palette for a tried and true sculpt. We've had Comic Serious, we've had First Appearance, we've had Superpowers, now we have Animated Style. Booster Gold, after comparing it with the first one, I think this is 98% reuse. They have changed the hands and the lower arm to not have those wrist blasters. This is just Booster in another costume. The biggie here is Ambush Bug though. There is a unique character for the shelf. Single packed, you just buy it, display it, pull it back down, play with it, because it's Ambush Bug. I think this may be the teen body recycled. You can see a slight seam line on the shoulder and upper arm that matches up with Kid Flash. But I didn't do any deep diving to see if this torso matches anybody else, because it doesn't match Kid Flash. It doesn't have the jowls right here. It's cleaner, it's sleeker. Also, going back to the WonderCon slideshow, it is a bit shorter than the rest. It's a clean costume with a proper Ambush Bug head. Gimme, gimme. But we'll bookend the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse segment with yet another Joker. Here is the gold label GameStop exclusive Comedian Joker Frostbite edition. I almost had it. It only makes sense. We saw Frozen Batman a few months ago from GameStop. you gotta have the yin to the yang. And it's just my opinion here, this looks good in translucent blue with the sweet frost, with the white frosting on top. It really just brings out all that sculpted texture that's kind of lost when it's painted. Plus there's just something appealing about ice sculptures of the big names. I'm sure this is from a specific storyline, but I'd like to see other characters in this same format, just for the pure absolute hell of it. It's GameStop. Let them have it, and let the people who like this kind of thing have it. Breaking news, as I was gathering everything for this rewind, Veebs just had to go and hit me with new promo shots of the Jada Toys Mega Man Wave 2. We've seen the prototypes for Elecman, Cutman, and Hyperbomb Mega Man for a while now. Was it last San Diego? Was it before that? But Jada Toys just likes to have all their ducks in a row before putting out the solicitations. And you know what pretty promotional pictures means? There's pre-orders right around the corner. In fact, these should be up next Monday. No, I do not know Mega Man, even though I'm right in that video game sweet spot. I think I gave the first one a shot back in the day and thought, holy shit, this is hard. I'm gonna go find something else to play, because it was just click, or was it, or was it, but the basic design elements are burned into my brain through various magazines and cartoons and flipping through source books ever since Jada Toys announced this line, because Veebs is just like, do you know Mega Man? Look, like it, please. Yeah, it's awesome. He is losing his ever-loving mind over all these releases, and hey, it's hard not to get caught up in that kind of enthusiasm. Do I even need to mention that they're kick-ass toys from a kick-ass company? Jada Toys came out of nowhere and just said, hey, you like action figures? This form factor isn't always the easiest to turn into articulated action figures, but here we are. Even better, they seem to be making a go at making a lot of the characters, hopefully all the characters, which, from what I understand, hasn't been done before. They're gonna do what they say can't be done. They've got a long way to go. And not a short time to get there. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's just a fun line. Even to an outsider like me, who's just looking at the glass like, oh, okay, those are pretty neat. Easing into the Marvel side of things a bit, I was cruising through 5K Toys this week and noticed that Mugen Workshop is re-releasing their Sorcerer Supreme Magic accessory sets. And I say sets because there's also variants. The original set had everything you could ever want for your magic type users. Well, okay, I'm sure you could think of a couple more things, but man, this'll keep you covered for a good long time. There's all kinds of effects. I'm not even gonna list them. They are all labeled here for you to pause and just stare in wonder and awe. The variant sets remove the LED books and then the magnetic handcuffs. Maybe because those require some extra manufacturing process. The variant sets are a little easier to produce, maybe. But don't worry, the books can now be ordered separate. And if I remember back to the first release of this, a lot of people were like, hey, can I just get the books because I can take those, and those are little display sprucers. Not that the magical effects aren't, but, you know, little things to throw in with your Wandas or your Stevens. Those are a selling point on their own. So it's good to see this. But if you wanted the rest of the set in different colors for different characters, you're in luck too. There's now a red set, a green set, a blue set, and a purplish pinkish set. Even better, there's a few new pieces to these sets. I think the first time around I was like, man, my favorite part of this are the dragons. Now, they can spew fire in matching translucent colors. Red, green, and blue get fire effects, and then purple gets electricity blasts. Just more ways to have fun with your figures. Ain't nothing wrong with that. We're moving on up. It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? Moving into something a little more licensed when it comes to Marvel, here is the Mezco 1/12 Collective Captain America Silver Age Edition. This is another we knew was coming. This was shown back at Mezco Toys Fair in February, I believe, and back then, I predicted that I would like it more when we saw more promo shots, and that's what happened. I'm looking at these thinking, well dang, maybe I do need a more classic Captain America. But I also like it a little less. A little more? Little less. It's weird. First, it's just a classic Captain America. I love the proportions here. It's like he's built more for power than speed. The costuming is a lot more thought out than the first one, or at least the one I have, where there's those little flecks of things glued on that fall off if you look at it funny. Here it seems to be a rubber overlay with some sculpt to it to make it look armored up there. And it doesn't stand out against the actual fabric of the sleeves and the abs and the legs. Yes, I'm dancing around the important region. Same for the boots and gloves. Those are sculpted plastic, but because of the textures, it kind of just blends in. But let's get to the elephant in the room, the crotch area. It seems to be the same material as the upper body, but without the sculpt. So it just comes off as flat boxer briefs on top of a superhero costume. If it had been cloth, would it have blended in too much? It wouldn't have stood out. And the good thing here is that the rubber overlay is hiding the hip joints. So maybe they couldn't bring it. My first thought is to bring it up, cut it off here. If it had been superhero trunks, it wouldn't have stood out as much, being flat with a couple of wrinkles and slightly different color, different material. It would look like my mental image, but I have to remember it's classic Captain America. He had the trunks. So I don't know. It jumps at me, but it doesn't. One of my big gripes with the reveal was also the screaming head, the wide open mouth. And seeing the alternate heads here, I like it a lot better. That stern look. And all three heads look like Steve Rogers. Or it looks like the same character. You know, there's the unmasked head, and then masked and masked a little angrier. And it's all the same facial features. But where did the screaming head go? It threw me at first because the head on the body in this picture is the stern-looking Captain America masked head. But then you go all the way to the end, and that is the same head. Usually when they do these pictures, it's the head that comes on the figure and then all the alternate heads. I feel like the screaming head was on this end, and then last minute they took it away and said, we need to plug that hole with something else. Boom, there's that head again. I can't think of any huge conspiracy because really, classic Captain America was shown yelling, going into battle a lot of the times. So I can't think of a reason to pull it either. I don't know. Of course, that brings us to the Hasbro Marvel Legends Iron Fist and Luke Cage 2-pack. We've already talked about this twice, last week in fact, so nothing new here. Well, okay, there is a couple of new shots that came with the solicitation. There's this that they showed in the live stream, but wasn't included in the press package, and then this shot. Just Luke Cage in action. So like I said, not really anything new, nothing else to go over. It's a not so classic, pretty dang classic Iron Fist, along with a not so modern, but pretty dang modern Luke Cage. That's where this set is at. That's where we're at. Both look great. End of story. That's it. If you want it, get it. If not, that same day, there was a surprise Silver Surfer reissue. As far as I can tell, this is exactly the same as the Walgreens release. So if you missed that back in the day, here you go. Or well, there you go. It's sold out in a lot of places. I think I have GameStop linked in the description. And some may disagree at this point, especially when it comes to your opinions on pinned limbs, but I still think this is a great looking Silver Surfer. It does remind me that I need to open that Galactus, and when I was searching for pictures, I realized that's going back to 2021. I need to get that out and compare, see which head I like better. But just looking at pictures, I almost prefer this one, but that's just looking at pictures. You know how that goes. Give me a break. I'm still waiting for that display space to come along. Galactus is a big guy. Anyway, this week Target also posted up the pre-order for their exclusive retro-carded Carnage. Again, we saw this revealed at a live stream, but we never got the actual pretty promotional pictures until now. The page went up, we get a better look at the figure itself, even though we knew it was that absolute Carnage body with a new head and weapons. That does make it a little more reminiscent of the old 5-inch that the card is emulating. But that is the reason for the painted white teeth. I saw some comments about that, some complaints, and I thought the same. I was like, no, my memory of Carnage has the suit coming down to the teeth, and it's black with pink inside. But you go back to the 5-inch figure, and that had white teeth on it. This is more in line with the vintage figure. Do I have to call that vintage? I mean, it's 30 years old. I guess it is vintage. That leads us to Spider-Man, because just last week Medicom teased us with a MAFEX No Way Home Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and Boom. 1 week later, here we are. I'll be damned if they didn't deliver. You know how the Marvel Legends version was a little squared off? MAFEX doesn't have that. It's more in line with the proportions of the SH Figuarts without having that ugly garage door crotch joint piece flippy around thing. Really, it's just kind of the middle ground. It's the best of both worlds. And why wouldn't it be? Medicom always lurking in the shadows, watching the other companies stumble over each other and themselves trying to get that character out before the other. And then a couple years later, Medicom comes along with a MAFEX that's just kind of like, hey, here you go. Even the unmasked head sculpts look great here. Very Maguire. And then along with hands and webs and a loose mask to hold, there's also a big old Doctor Strange portal. The only gripe I've seen online is the mask. And this is gonna dig a little deep for those of you who, like me, just goes, Spider-Man, look, it's Spider-Man. No, okay, I do get nitpicky sometimes, but this is something that I didn't notice until just now. The original Raimi movies have the web lines emanating from the center as straight lines. You get to the No Way Home mask, and these lower lines right here cut at an angle and go down. Also, the circle on the early 2000s costume on the bridge of the nose, it was more symmetrical. Then we get to No Way Home, and it moves the bottom line up a bit more to be closer to the points of the lenses. I know that's really microscoping it. It's getting really far in there. But that's all to say that people complaining about this being the older Tobey Maguire from No Way Home have to understand that this figure is advertised as older Tobey Maguire from No Way Home. Medicom did kind of split the difference by bringing the upper line slightly down, but that's just me digging even further. It's a great looking Spider-Man. What else you want from me? MAFEX always travels in pairs though, and the second solicitation isn't near as high profile. Remember when Medicom showed the MAFEX Star Wars Empire Strikes Back 4-LOM last year? Well, the crazy bastards actually put it up for pre-order this week. Out of all the big names they could have done, they went with 4-LOM. 4-LOM. Zuckus if you're nasty. Maybe we're seeing this because there may be some C-3PO reuse. The lower arms and then everything from the waist down looks dang familiar. I can't tell for sure though. I was looking at the pictures and reached over for my MAFEX C-3PO and the leg flopped over and the arm fell off. For those of you who do not know, the original MAFEX C-3PO is an absolute piece of shit. It looked great, but as soon as you pulled it out of the package, you could just feel the joy and all hope in this hobby fade away. Just, whoa, this figure can go to hell. That figure was so bad that for years and years and years afterwards, even though Medicom had made strides and has made strides to improve their product, people were still just like, nope, that C-3PO, never again. Never! Saying all that, even though it appears to be the same sculpt to the crotch and the legs, there's a lot less gap. Which makes sense because they did release a sequel trilogy C-3PO that was a lot more sturdy. So maybe this is even more improved. And I'm gonna say it is, because I haven't had any major QC issues with MAFEX in a while now. Still though, 4-LOM. That's crazy. I don't know what this gives you over Black Series, because looking at the promo pics, there's not, well, okay, there's the usual protocol droid type movement. They are not getting crazy poses out of it. It's all super vanilla, and then comes with one rifle, one accessory. And that's another weird thing. This somehow costs $15 more than the No Way Home Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. You remember we talked about the hands and the webs and the extra heads and the big portal thing? That is cheaper than this 4-LOM that possibly reuses parts from a previous figure. And don't say Star Wars tax, I just paid almost $25 less for the Mandalorian recovered armor Boba Fett this week. It's just weird all the way around. But I still pre-ordered it. Why? Because it's Star Wars, and I fully admit I have a problem when it comes to that property. But I do not see this selling out anytime soon. and I don't blame anyone for skipping it. In fact, my dumbass may wait for some clearance, because you gotta think it's gonna get discounted at some point. The Bandai SH Figuarts Jar Jar is a completely different story though, right? Who in their right mind would skip a Jar Jar? This guy. Almost. For some reason, between the initial reveal a few weeks ago and the pre-orders this week, I just lost any compulsion to buy this. I have the Black Series, and man, it looks nice on the shelf. All this gives us is a different personality option with an alternate head and jaw pieces. But in the end, that was enough for me to go, okay, this gives me different looks for the display. Plus it's SH Figuarts. And Soul Web exclusive, so it's a little harder to get, and once it's gone, it's gone. There was also that of, I better grab it now and regret getting it later, rather than not get it now and regret not getting it. I'd rather have it than not have it. I'm making all kinds of excuses for this. I mentioned two heads. The first one has the eyes slightly closed, and then the mouth is also closed. On the alternate head, the eyes are a little wider, and then you can swap in different jaw pieces that I also think are articulated. There's this piece with the tongue sticking out, which is the main want. I really want this pose. But then there's another piece you can pop in without the tongue, so you can have him either talking or eating the little bondage frog. Damn it! We need a Sebulba. Why isn't anybody giving us a Sebulba? But I also think the jaw is articulated in some way, because this magazine scan popped up this week and it shows the open mouth in different positions, which is probably not an engineering feat or anything. It's probably just pegs you stick in and then you can move it up and down, but still, options. That's always good. I also mentioned that it was Soul Web exclusive. That means it's not going to be available through the usual import sites like AmiAmi or HobbyLink Japan. For this, you got to go through third-party vendors like Nin Games or Hobby Genki. And yes, I link those in the description, so you don't have to depend on my terrible pronunciation. What'd he say? I said Hobby Genki or Nin Games. What it came down to is that extra kick of personality. A little bit more bread for my butter, or a little bit more butter for my bread. Again, I do not expect this to move like other Star Wars characters would. This may sit for a while too, but at the same time, I didn't want to regret passing. It's exclusive. I grabbed it. I'll have it. We'll go from there. Back to the magazine scan, if you look further down the page, there's what appears to be an SH Figuarts Kelleran Beck. That would be awesome because he's played by Ahmed Best, who also played Jar Jar, the Jedi who saved Grogu in The Mandalorian back in the day. So yes, I will buy this, but as far as I can tell, or from what people are talking about, this is just kind of a mock-up. The magazine version of what Bandai does at conventions when they show prototypes in the display case with no information whatsoever. No inkling of it going up for pre-order at a future date at all. This is just them trolling us on paper this time around. Old school. They're going back to the olden days. But May 4th is coming up. It has so much potential. So many figures they've shown that they could put up for pre-order. But I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm not. Come on. And that's all I have for this week, other than a little update for my YOLO Park Transformers AMK Pro Series G1 Optimus Prime model kit. No, I still don't have it, but it's been shipped. It went out on the 16th, and it just got into Pitney Bowes' hands. So I probably have some waiting to do still, but it's getting ever closer. As always, special thanks to the Patreon who puts up with my shenanigans and old manness throughout the week. I opened up the chat room that is Patreon exclusive and went, hey, does this work? And then never came back because Patreon doesn't send any kind of notifications that people are chatting in the chat room. I came back a few days later and it was just a scroll of and I'm like, sorry guys. It's the same with the Discord too. If you're in the Robo Don't Know Discord, you have to @ me directly to remind me to come in there and check things and see what's going on. But while we're scrolling, I wanted to address a comment that I got on the Tales from the Tubs this week. It says, as a newer/younger collector, Robo talking about how he could drop his kids off at school and then go toy hunting waves just hurts. Nowadays, distribution is so awful that if you don't pre-order, you're probably not going to see figures at retail. At least in my neck of the country. Oh, where are my old dogs at? When I said I would drop the kids off at school and then go toy hunting, that doesn't mean that every Walmart and Toys R Us I stopped at had exactly what I was looking for on the pegs. No. Employees all like, good morning, Mr. Robo. Here are those items you're searching for. We're gonna have another truck in exactly 14 days at 8 a.m. So if you stop by then, we'll probably have those other things you're looking for too. You have a great day. Bye-bye now. Hell no! We went hunting because we had to go hunting. There wasn't all this fancy online buying and pre-orders. No, you had to go searching for it. All you had was magazines and the new internet, where people would talk about finding stuff there. That doesn't mean it was going to hit your area. That just meant it hit the East Coast or the West Coast. Here in the middle, honestly, it was the same as it is now, just without that buffer or that security blanket of online ordering or pre-orders. Oh, and a lot less product. We didn't have near as many Marvel Legends waves or Star Wars releases back then. It was spread out. So many late night and early morning trips through the garden center, only to turn right back around and go out the same way 2 minutes later. Back in the before times when there was 24-hour retail. Checking the overhead bins at Toys R Us, hoping for something. Oh, it's not out here. Maybe it's up here. Wasn't all just rainbows and unicorns and holy grails around every corner. There was the thrill of the hunt, turning the corner and seeing some new packaging in the area that you've looked at for the past 6 weeks, and or trying to psych out fate, reverse psychologize the toy gods by not looking in that area until the last minute, like, oh, look at this over here. Ah, gotcha! But now I'm old. Things are expensive. I do not mind at all of putting in orders online and waiting for it to hit my porch. I'll stop in and look if I'm grocery shopping or on my way to somewhere else. The good old days are still the good old days in here, but don't think it was easy. Don't think it was just simple to get what you want. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. You kids these days don't know what you... No. It's just same situation, different factors. Basically. I feel like I rambled for way too long. Oh my god, look at the time. And the rain's kicking back. Perfect! I'm out. Later.